Can you really have the perfect lawn when you've got a dog? That's the question that we're going to be exploring in today's video. So for those who don't know, this lawn I'm sat in front of now is a bent fescue lawn. It was seeded at the back end of April, and at time of recording we're sort of at the back end of June. So it's been a good few months now since it was sown from scratch, and it's been around about a month since I gave it its first proper cut, and the lawn is really starting to thicken up now and come into its own. And that brings us on to the first problem that a lot of people have when they seed a lawn from scratch, is how do you keep the dog off the space? When we first did the whole garden renovation, we didn't have the dog at the time. So when we seeded this lawn originally, it was fine. We just put the seed down, we raked it over, it came through, it was superb, happy days. Last year when we did like a full renovation on the space, we scarified it to death, we did really heavy overseeding, and I covered the entire lawn with landscape fabric, which I thought would deter the dog from almost destroying the lawn or destroying the seed bed that I'd tried to establish. However, when he came out, he went absolutely mental because of the fabric, and then when eventually we took the fabric off, he went just as mad again, which really didn't help. So this year, when we actually killed the space off, and when I say killed the space off, the lawn was pretty much dead, to be honest. When we re-established it as a bent fescue lawn, we actually put a perimeter fence around the entire lawn, which, you know, prevented then the dog from being able to get on. And granted, it did work, and when we took the fence down, he was okay. We let him come out. We were just really careful with where he was going to go, just so he didn't have to zoomies and absolutely, you know, destroy the space that we'd spent so long trying to establish, because this type of grass does take a little bit of time to come through. So if you are seeding a lawn from scratch or doing some sort of renovation, it is worth getting some barrier fencing to go around the outside of your lawn. It's relatively inexpensive. You can pick it up from the likes of Toolstation, Screwfix, B&Q, even your local garden centre. And I guess the downside to putting a fence up around your lawn is that it can look like a little bit of an eyesore for that time when you're doing your renovation, and often that's when the weather's quite nice. So when you're sat in the garden trying to have a brew, have a beer, enjoy yourself, you have this horrible kind of mass you have to look at. I bought the green barrier fencing, which granted didn't look amazing, but it was much better than the orange alternative that they sell on Toolstation or Screwfix. Before we get on to the second issue you can have with your lawn when you've got a dog, let's get the mower, let's give this space a cut. This small lawn in front of me now wasn't actually seeded from scratch. It was actually rolled out as turf around about a month or so ago. Now, when you have got turf, you can do the same thing as I've just discussed down at the bottom. You can put a fence around the outside. However, it is less susceptible to the dog actually destroying. The main thing you got to worry about when it comes to a space like this is dog wee. Now, one of the most infuriating things about having a dog is when you get burn spots like this on your lawn. You can see the dog's tried to wee up against this plant, it's got onto the lawn, and it's completely killed off this patch of grass here. You can see where the edge is supposed to be. It's decimated that tiny part on the end. And that's because dog's wee contains loads of nitrogen. If you put nitrogen down onto your lawn, what it's going to do is it's going to promote a lot of growth. You're going to get a lot of top growth coming off those grass blades. They're going to get darker, it's going to improve the colour, and you'll find it in most lawn fertilisers. However, dog's wee is highly concentrated in the stuff. For example, you can see this patch of grass in front of me now. This part is significantly darker than the other spaces around it, and that's because the dog's obviously cocked his leg at some point. He's probably been aiming for the post over here and just got distracted by something, and obviously some of the weeds got onto the lawn. But that rich nitrogen urine has obviously got down into the soil profile, and it's promoted a lot of the growth from that plant. Now, this grass here is lovely and lush, it's healthy, it's growing really well, but it's obviously now a different colour to the rest of the lawn, which is a little bit of an issue when it comes to the aesthetic, and it's more of an issue when they do it in the centre of your lawn. However, if that nitrogen level in the soil becomes too high, it's going to do what's happened to this plant here, and it's going to scorch it. Often, if you see patches like this, or even in the centre of your lawn, you'll often have a burnt spot right in the middle, and around the outside you've got really lush dark green grass, because that's the stuff that hasn't had too much nitrogen yet. So the patch is going to go really dark green, And if the dog obviously wheezes in that space again, it's going to kill the spot in the middle. And more often than not, if the dog's going to wee somewhere and that grows into a little mound, it's going to want to wee on there again. Now, in terms of how to prevent that, there's a few different things you can do. The first thing you can do is put dog rocks in your dog's water bowl, and that way what it's going to do is neutralise the nitrogen in that wee, and it's not going to cause those dark green marks or any of those scorch marks when the nitrogen level becomes too high. However, I have heard that you do have to replace the dog rocks quite frequently for it to have impact, but it absolutely does work. But why haven't I chosen to use them with my dog? And the reason for that is that he's a male dog, and once he got out of that puppy phase, he started cocking his leg up, and often he'll wee against the actual raised bed over here. He'll wee against the plants at the back of the garden too. So he will very rarely wee in the centre of the garden. However, if he does, or if you've got a female dog who will literally wee anywhere, the best thing you can do is get your hose pipe, get onto the lawn, and actually give the space a good soak. And what you are doing then is you're diluting the nitrogen that's gone into the soil. However, make sure you get on with plenty of water, because what you can do is if it wheezes in a particular spot and you spray it with a little bit of water, you can risk just spreading out the nitrogen, which then causes a slightly bigger dark space in your lawn. You're almost like fertilising more of the lawn. So get on with quite a bit of water, wash a lot of that nitrogen through the soil, and you should be good. And that leads me on to the final issue that dogs can cause lawns, and it's spaces like this. Now, last year when we had the ryegrass lawn, dog was obviously a little bit younger and really liked the idea of just digging holes, and it was an absolute nightmare. And today, for the very first time, he dug a space out of the lawn here. I took my eyes off him for around 2 minutes, making a cup of coffee, came out, and I saw him digging. You can see it doesn't look horrendous at the moment, because all I've done is taken all the little bits of grass and little bits of soil, and I've just packed them back in. Some of it will recover, some of it won't, and we are going to end up with a bit of a dodgy space. And the problem is he's going to come back out here again and want to dig that space up. If you've got an absolute gyno lawn, you've got a massive house with a massive property, loads of land, then spaces like this, and actual dog wee spaces too, they're not that bad, because they become few and far between. So even though you might have a few imperfections in your lawn, it looks relatively okay. When you've got a lawn this size, it becomes really hard to hide from any of those imperfections. So if there is a hole or there is a dog wee spot, it pops up really clearly. So what are your solutions when these sort of problems arise? Now, when it comes to dog wee spots and holes that they've dug, the solution is pretty simple. First thing you can do is overseed, and what you want to be doing is overseed with the same grass variety that you currently have. If you've got a lot of dog wee spots on your lawn, they're knocking about all over the place, what you might want to do is actually scarify the entire area and overseed the entire space with a new seed, if you're not sure on what the actual grass variety is that you have, because that way when that new seed comes through, the new spots will blend with the other seed that you put down, and it'll help it merge better with the lawn. Otherwise, if you do put the wrong type of grass seed down, you can end up with the same issue that dog wee spots will give you. You'll have different colours of green knocking about in your space. And also as well, this lawn that I'm stood in front of now, like I said at the start, it's a bent fescue lawn, and it is a creeping variety of grass. So once it matures a little bit more, what it's going to do, it's going to start putting rhizomes and stolons out, and more grass plants are going to pop up all around in those spaces. So where he's actually dug a hole over there, eventually that's going to fill in. It's going to take longer now because this is a fairly new lawn. Once it matures, it'll still take a while, but in time, it'll rectify itself. You can get stressed about it, and trust me, at times, I absolutely do. Oh, this is heavy. When he dug that space up today, it was an absolute nightmare. By the way, someone suggested in one of my previous videos that I should build a ramp to get this up and down. I'm going to do one for the bottom tier over there, but I certainly need to do one for the top tier over here. But as I was saying, it does get frustrating, and it can be annoying, especially when you spent a lot of time and often a lot of money getting your lawn looking really nice. But if you have got a dog, unfortunately, you've almost just got to play the hand you're dealt, and effectively, it's just the nature of the beast. So thanks for watching today's video. Hopefully you found it useful, and if your dog has absolutely destroyed your lawn, hopefully you leave this thinking that all hope isn't lost. You'll have seen some footage through this video of what my lawns look like at times when the dogs come on and absolutely done his business and destroyed certain patches of it, but everything's recoverable. Just slightly trickier if you've got a dog. So if you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like. My Instagram is linked in the description below. Finally, thanks for watching.